Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation. My rights are violated, but the progress is substantial as always. A lot of history, a lot of legal, again with our diction, our derivation, ultimately looking to stabilize what is a censor, what is censorality. Obviously this derivation contains a lot of logic, literally the entire structure that is represented by language. So we can get to this point of demonstration of completeness and incompleteness. Again, what Kurt Gödel did was not even remotely close to a proof, but we demonstrate the boundary of linguistics. And so a lot of direct historical progression here, which is very poignant, and then our typical just derivation of language, because again, we're proving anything that can be proven. We're deriving the entire structure of language. And so a lot of poignant historical linguistic progression. Moving through our steps, what is censorality? We are on doggy patrol again, so the garage door might go up, so we'll probably get interrupted. But we move along. What is the value of difference? Censorality values difference. Censorality differentiates value. What is sex to value? What is theme to value? Censorality is sex-themed. Censorality is sex-y. Again, just emphasizing the complete conceptualization. If somebody just said sex to you, not the act, not the gender, literally just the word, and all of the associated conceptualization, then we're adding the sound e, like sex, sex-y, and then we get the word sexy. Just emphasizing some of the steps. Censorality is sexuality. Natural definition, direct iteration, just ask the president of China. Emphasizing the association of she, xi, to the sound she. Right? In English, we get that a lot with the ti, the si, the ci, and now the xi. Censorality is sexuality or sexiality. I guess that would still be it'd be sexiality. But I wanted to make a Chinese joke, so I did. Not even really a joke, just the association of xi to she. But I guess this would just be pronounced sexiality. Doesn't matter, moving along. What is consensus to sex? Consent is sex-y. Emphasizing again the linguistics here more so than the conceptualization. Censorality sends sex. Censorality is sex spend. Again, emphasizing this linguistic variable, the x, at the end of words. Another one, big thing in French, x's are always at the end of words. What is sex to energy? Now the conceptualization that everyone thinks about. What is generosity to sex? Censorality is generous sex. I would know, just ask Jen. Jen gave Brad generous sex. I was very thankful for it. What is generosity to pleasure? Is generosity pleasing? What is the limit of smoothness? So this was another physical one where it's just like, you try to limit movement, you get vibration, you try to file down teeth, or you try to, again, smooth any surface. That should be a direct, immediate physical limit. What is the limit of smoothness? Censorality smooths, censorality soothes, again, emphasizing the TH. Censorality ameliorates. Censorality is ameliorality. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is amelioration to deterioration? Hopefully I can pronounce my words all right. Or enunciate. Does deterioration ameliorate? What is deterioration to detention? What is detention to determination? Censorality is a determination deterrent. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is a deterrent to a determinant? What is a friend to end? Censorality is the end of friendship. Natural definition, direct iteration, emphasizing the end in friendship. It's like that one's getting close to like a base or to like centralized. Again, containment being completely surrounded by other letters is a light analytical step. It just kind of works itself out, but providing any insight where I can. What is property to identity? Censorality is proper property. Natural definition, direct iteration is pretty proper. Life proliferates, and so then this step would just felt like a direct, felt conceptually immediately motivated, like I almost was like, why am I writing this down? But again, it felt like one of these, so I'm not sure where the step is going to go, if it goes anywhere. But iterating proliferate, the E to the O. Again, we're going ordinal throughout the alphabet from E to O, but life proliferates, life proliferates. Again, felt like a step that was meaningful. Sensorality is proliferality. E to the O, what is life to orality? Does all life speak? No. But again, that was one of the more, like, all of this is direct iteration, where it's like you can't even, like, if you knew analysis, if society knew analysis, there would be nothing to say to any of this. You would just sit down, shut the fuck up, and listen. But like that step proliferates, because typically when we're iterating and the elementality is always preserved and we're just progressing this, some sort of preservation of pronunciation. And then the associated syllability, the letters assigned to that sound, just maps directly. But it felt like life proliferates was a much more like, again, if you've seen all of analysis in society, I'd published my shit in 200 years in the future, this would still be like a step, like, why would you do that? But it felt like pointing it out, and sensorality is proliferality. Maybe it comes back up, maybe it doesn't. Words have meaning. Words are naturally defined. Meaning is natural. Natural definition, direct iteration. Again, it's that association of experience, of process, of thing. And we're just representing that with different sounds and different orders. But what you mean, right? Actions speak louder than words. What is the meaning of intention? Right? When somebody does an action, you can kind of feel what they were intending to do. Actions speak louder than words. Meaning is natural. What is obesity to hygiene? Is obesity genetic? Right, I'm big boned. Now you're a fat fuck. I always like pointing that out. Again, really emphasizing the word structure, obesity, and hygiene. Fundamental theorem of logic, refutability is deniability. So again, we're going to hit a big slew of renormalizations, several ones in logic. It's all kind of an extenuation or extension or continuation. But again, the steps feel novel enough to separate them as fundamental theorems, all of the same section of ontology, logic, which is really what we're doing. In logic to linguistics are like the big ones, even more so than mathematics. But all of them are poignant. They're all meaningful steps where it's just, again, you've never seen a derivation of this scale before, and I'm doing it again as I'm labeling the things that feel meaningful. I'm not over-labeling anything that I feel like would be an over-labeling. Like, this is as presented as I possibly can do this structure of this level of proofing. But right, irrefutability is proof. If it's refutable, it's deniable. Fundamental theorem of logic, refutability is deniability. Is denial wrong? And so emphasizing here, not understanding something, not knowing something is different than denial, right? Denial is saying no to the right answer. You're completely aware, you're completely cognizant, you're completely understanding, and you're still going to say no to the right answer, right? Denial is defiance. Natural definition, direct iteration. But now this is where we get our big kind of historical progress for today in understanding. Fundamental theorem of history. Fallibility is falsifiability. So, right, in history, we have these couple characters come throughout history. Well, first of all, we have this law office. Conceptually, God is odd, directly, natural definition, iteration. We have this conceptual progress. In the human species, the males are physically bigger, and so obvious physical limits are always obvious physical limits, but then we just have power and authority. And so throughout history, we have had big female figures the entire time. In current conceptualization and consensus, everyday talking, people are like, we needed girl bosses and equality. And it's like, all of recorded histories have had, certainly bias towards males because of physical stature, but anytime merit has had any level of taking root or establishment, females have absolutely been rulers, head matriarchs in the human species throughout all of known history. And again, conceptually contained history is about 450 million years of oral tradition, and then our written history, the Sumerians, 5000 BCE. The point being is just technology is the only thing that really changes human behavior. Even the overall form, from like Homo erectus or the Neanderthals, the motivations of life are already proven outside of any one species. But historically, the progression of, God is odd. Again, historically, nobody's even identified what that is. It's a law office, certainly. There was certainly an individual that stimulated that, again, derivation of law. It was female. And then you have this conceptual assignment of, you have some sort of way, some sort of tradition, some sort of just society. You're born into a culture, and then you change things, right? You're odd. You're the odd one out. And then the inversion of God and dog being reversible, or again, there's some sort of conceptualization in our history of, oh, well, you're a god, well, then I'm a dog, right? And that's something we would say today. It's like, I'm with the boys, I'm a dog, and some corny ass shit. But that's the conceptualization that is present historically. And when you see everything that people see as capital G word is linguistics progress to a level of derivation of common law, and then the storytelling, his story is again this general relativity of a single individual encapsulating an experience, telling a story which is really derivation and proof of law, of common experience of preserving consent. And then everyone experiences that and knows that because they're a member of the same species, they have the same form, and they're like, oh yeah, I don't like when people steal my stuff. I don't like when people want to kill my wife. So on and so forth. That is where you get common law is common experience. And so what you have historically, again, is that whole, capital G word, that whole law office that is not known anywhere, but it's true. And on top of that, then you get Jesus and the prophet. And before then, again, worth pointing out, we've already discussed it at length, is that whole progress of individualism, being indivisible, is why we have this progress historically from polytheism to monotheism. Then monotheism is, again, the true conceptualization world that we all live in, regardless of which monotheistic world. And that's just all, again, a manifestation of experience, of individualism. Hey, we're all born into a culture, but each individual person's like, I have rights, or I want to be treated in a certain way. And law, history, behavior, geopolitics at its entirety is just normalizing of that globally. But historically what we have is falsifiability or fallibility is falsifiability, right? So then when people say, Jesus was infallible, you have a linguistic savant profoundly past the rest of the populace where the logical structure is, again, immediately proven to the point where people cannot contribute. And so then you get kind of these historical, only God can judge me, which then again, Jesus Christ himself is not historically God. And then he says, I am not God, because again, he has a personal awareness. I am literally directly, immediately past the entire populace, and I am nowhere close to the logical structure that is still already present. So that's why Jesus himself articulates and says, I am the Son of God. And if you actually read it and know what you're listening to or reading, it's so much more of like a political conversation or just like reacting to society, right? He was he got famous in his like late 20s and mid 20s. He was a celebrity. Like, he had the come up of people today when they're getting famous at 18 to 25, right? He was killed right around 33-ish. Hopefully that's not my bad year. But point being is that's what happened. And so it's this conceptually from the society level of infallibility is immediately what is presented right now from string theory. It's kind of like, again, the context of where is something falsifiable. Can we test this is what people will say for string theory. Can we test this apparatus? It's like when you live in a world with words, it's like the empirical evidence is profoundly overwhelming if you know what you're interacting with. And you can't break it. Like, you can't outthink the conceptualization you were born into unless you progress the entire structure. It's not even possible. And so the context of string theory producing, can we test this if something is false, right? And then we get this double negative. String theory is not falsifiable. False is negative, so we have this word with negative connotation. We have this like a double negative sequence thing. But if something is false, it is wrong. So if it's falsifiable, it has the ability to be proven wrong. And so, fundamental theorem of history, fallibility is falsifiability, irrefutable is infallible. Natural definition, direct iteration. Falsifiability is the ability to be false. Natural definition, just direct statement. Falsifiability is the ability to be proven false. Testability. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is testability to consistency? So the more you test something, the more consistent it is, the more validated it is. But in reality, again, we're describing and deriving the logical and linguistic structure that you literally already live in. So again, you would have to prove that English isn't a language, the Roman alphabet doesn't represent English, English isn't, again, syllables, not capital E, and all physical systems aren't tending to optimal efficiency. They are. People aren't even aware of that. I mean, just like, again, and again, I've already proven all of this stuff, but I'm taking you through each step of where we're at. This is like, again, you're buried under the entire conceptualization of culture up until this point. What is said historically is infallible is the same thing as falsifiability. Fallibility is falsifiability. Is work continuous? And I just have the suck my hairy balls theorem again, but the consensus phrasing is I'm always working. Can you be always working? Work is productive. Work requires movement. Movement is productive. Is something always moving? Yes. Again, still the questions don't really, it's just posing you the steps in the overall conceptual progress. But then I even have nothing is continuous, because I wanted to say work is not continuous. I keep wanting to say nothing is continuous, but then no thing is space, right? No thing, nothing is space. Just those definitions, again, we've definitely hit those directly and immediately. Moving along, is a guarantee continuous? Sensorality guarantees degree. Direct iteration, sensorality is certain to a degree. Natural definition, direct iteration, that should have, again, like measurement, precision, mathematical context, but then the logical phrasing, to a certain degree. I just iterated that directly, right? Sensorality is certain to a degree. What is free speech? And so now we can directly, again, we have historical context of what this means, right? Free speech is against consensus. And without sensorality, we can't prove entirely what consensus is. And so historically, as presented and codified by the United States Constitution, or any, again, all of the progress of constitutions throughout history is all like translations of the same rights. And so, meaning any westernized democracy you have right now effectively has this more or less the same constitution, because it all comes from common experience, common law, which again is misidentified in jurisprudence in saying common law is a judicial choice, which is true, but it's, again, everybody's a judge and we're all making decisions all of the time. But what is free speech? Free speech is against consensus. Free speech is the right to speak freely against consensus. That is its natural historical progression. When the founding fathers of this country, 250 years of no constitutional rights, because this country's a shithole. Shout out to Governor DeWine and our Supreme Leader Donald. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 80 of the United States Constitution, the Fifth Amendment, and now scientifically we can include the First Amendment. Do I have the right to speak? I don't even want to say, this is where it gets interesting, against consensus? I'm just saying here's how words work and why it matters. And you use words. Can you explain to me how they work? We're demonstrating it with a proof more rigorous than the area of a circle. But again, that's what free speech is the confidence that you can say something contrarian and not have your rights violated. That is explicitly what is articulated conceptually and immediately by the founding fathers of what is free speech. What is consensus to heresy? It's two big words throughout historical progression: heresy, blasphemy. What is heresy to hearsay? Hearsay is heresy. Natural definition, direct iteration. Heresy, certainly from a time, maybe the Spanish Inquisition, but a time before our immediate, anyone alive today was like, no one's really running around calling people heretics. Not in a meaningful way, certainly not in the context of history. But literally, directly, linguistically, natural definition, direct iteration of the letters, and also the conceptualization historically. Hearsay is heresy. What is consensus to blasphemy? Is blasphemy heretical? Is blasphemy catastrophic? Is entropy catastrophic? Is atmosphere catastrophic? A lot of catastrophes in there. Come on, Gussie, we're almost done, buddy. What is climate to atmosphere? Sensorality is climaticality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Is climate dramatic? Oh, I live in Ohio. You never know what the weather's going to do. Turn on the news in Indiana. Oh, I live in Indiana. You never know what the weather's going to do. Turn on the weather in Colorado. Oh, I live in Colorado. You never know what the weather's going to do. Realization is not unique, and people think that they're saying some unique shit. Sensorality is dramaticality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Is emotion dramatic? Is dramatic drastic? Sensorality is drasticality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Free speech is contrarian. And that is, again, I have an econ. It's just like a context in the side. But connecting free speech, what we just talked about historically, linguistically, to contrarian, which the context of that presents is trading. I'm a contrarian investor. So just having that context, free speech is contrarian, connecting the context. A couple restatements of the fundamental theorems of logic. Sensorality is contrarianality. Natural definition, direct iteration. But now, right, we had coality. Coordination, cooperation. Now we have contra. Those are directly linguistic expansions of coality, right? So sensorality is contrarianality to, we just reduce the syllability directly, and conceptually it makes sense, emphasizing we're solving a general form of language. Sensorality is contrality. It's kind of right now contra, but then lity. Natural definition, direct iteration. Then we just immediately generalize the contra, that whole chunk of contra, and we already have a unit, a word. Fundamental theorem of logic, again, it's all you can, I'll just probably put continuation, but sensorality is contradictionality. Natural definition, direct iteration, again, contradiction is contrarian. What is contradiction to complacency? What is definability to deniability? The only difference between those two words linguistically is an F. Again, direct iterations. Is slander hearsay? Is gossip hearsay? Gossip is slander. Fundamental theorem of logic, contradiction is contrarian. Natural definition, direct iteration. But again, pointing out the steps where there's, again, enough novelty on a direct immediate level, writing these things like sequentially in the same speed you would write a note, or like, again, something you're not like sitting there stuck, but it's just enough novelty. It's like, let's label this new. It's all kind of the same. Again, contra, this general word form expansion of coality, contrality, contrarian, and then this orality dictates, contradiction. Contradiction is contrarian. Is slander fraudulent? Yes. Is libel fraudulent? Yes. Is a basis a foundation? Restating the fundamental theorem of linguistics, again, emphasizing linguistics versus language, assigning letter to sound. Sound is foundational. Natural definition, direct iteration, you can see the consistency of sound and found. Sensorality is foundationality. Sensorality finds speciality. Finding is filtering. Natural definition, direct iteration. Fundamental theorem of geometry, chirality is the foundation of direction. Natural definition, direct iteration. When somebody says, hey, I'm bad with directions, they're really saying, hey, I'm bad at unchirating. I don't know which way to go. But again, chirality, what people have said historically in science, that is the progress of geometric shape evolving. So chirality is the foundation of direction. But now, again, we just contract the syllability of direction, and overall, this is all one big linguistic progression. What is direction to diction? Direction is diction. Natural definition, direct iteration, again emphasizing we're just directly removing letters from direction to get diction. Specifically the RE, which again can function as a prefix. We're getting to this direct immediate form of solution that is independent of one language, that is independent of, again, it's just it's a consistent, we're stabilizing a definition. We're showing how words work and why it matters. We can't break, all of the conceptualization has already been articulated. But direction is diction, sensorality is the direction of diction. Natural definition, direct iteration. So certainly some poignant historical stuff. Again, if you know who I am, again, nobody watches my shit. But to the people that know, we've already kind of covered that. But again, proven it now. What is free speech? The confidence to speak against consensus. That's what's meant historically. Again, there's obviously no rights. The Constitution's an absolute fucking joke. But again, when I first start emailing you guys, and you're seeing all of these steps, and you're just thinking, what do you think I'm doing? Just like rattling off random shit because you're too stupid to keep up. And then I go to Samir Mathur, my old teacher. I was messing it up with a different physicist from the UK. Sakar, that's another Indian dude, but in like Cambridge or something. But Samir Mathur is up there and he's like, oh, well, just, do this problem. And then he writes some random fucking bullshit. And then 10 years later, you get on there and he's still talking about the information paradox. Just like throw that piece of shit in jail. And they're committing fraud to a level where they still don't even process. They think like there's some sort of conceptualization out there for them to do anything. And there just isn't. And so it's like, hey, I want to do mathematics. Or it's like if you showed up to let's use sports. You guys love games. You just showed up to a basketball game. And you're like, yeah, I played basketball before. Like, put me in. And you're just playing, 5-on-5 pickup ball at the local rec center. And then you get in, they sub you into the game and you pull out a hockey stick and you start beating everybody. And you're like, I'm playing basketball. And everyone's like, what in the fuck? Right, that's what like everyone else trying to do physics is like. They don't even realize they're not even like, there's rules and they're doing absolutely literally nothing. Besides committing profound racketeering, conspiracy, fraud, all of the major felonies you could possibly articulate. Besides that, but they just don't care. But emphasizing they don't even get that there's no conceptual framework past, and I keep saying I've proven everything you could prove. I got a genuine theoretical major concepts, ideas. I've exhausted the linguistic structure and we're just running it back, like legitimately. And so now this is like the first vocalization of, again, things that are already proven. None of these big steps are new to me. Like the only thing in this entire process that even felt like, have I really done this before? Was the completion of ordinality. But everything with numbers is such a low level of derivative from conceptualization where it's just like, I never vocalize, th at the end of a number and you add ing, you get thing. Fourth, for thing. You go from ordinality to cardinality, magnitude. Again, that's really bounding of our physical. Again, we've gone through that whole progression. It's a whole section of derivation. But point being is like none of these major, again, all of these major conceptual steps are, again, at the forefront of my mind all of the time. Because people are just running around, again, in this like leftover fragment of the Industrial Revolution, just clamoring over each other. And gossip and slander and blasphemy and heresy and all of this shit is like already articulated in legal discourse throughout human history, and people are just too stupid to know what they are reading. But stupidity is a choice. They just don't listen. The right answers are out there. You just have to not say no. You just have to not deny. And then to those again, when Sean Carroll's uploading his biggest ideas of the universe, and I'm literally emailing him his thoughts because there's right answers in physics. And so it's like I'm emailing him the words he's about to say before he even says them. That's when you get into this world of like, only God can judge me. The people become aware there is nothing they can articulate. And that's been proven. Again, that's when Sean Carroll and whoever jerk-offs go hiking in 2017, it's like, be patient with new ideas. It's like, brother, you have no idea the flood that has already happened. And it's just this level of arrogance and incompetence. And now, how about now, guys? 10 whole years in the progress of theoretical physics, and now it's all done, and it's been done, and you were just too arrogant to like know what's going on. And I still sit here without constitutional rights. I still sit here in a profoundly, again, I can't articulate my life experience at the direct and immediate jeopardy of going homeless again. I've never been able to eat properly. I've never been able to sleep properly. I've never been able to discuss my life experience with anybody because people cannot hear anything against consensus. And consensus is play games all day, compete over nothing, and then say me, 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 me. And then people literally do not have the emotional development to behave otherwise. It's overwhelmingly apparent to it's because it's the actual problems that everybody interacts with. Every single person, if you've never met me and you go into a world and it's like, why did that person steal? Why did this? It's just some level of perversion of selfishness. And I can get away with it or I cannot get away with it. But it's this perversion of consent. It's what all crime is. Some level of selfishness saying, hey, my life matters more than that person's and I'm gonna go do whatever. And that's what everyone's doing against me, and no one gives a flying F because I'm trying not to swear too much, but I don't care. It's just my natural presentation. And then I can't articulate. I have no ability to just have the confidence that I can upload fundamental scientific research with my natural expressions. This society has failed so profoundly, so readily, so egregiously, so directly. It's just unbelievable that it's still occurring. Because the death, detriment, and destruction to everybody is immediate and all over the place. And it just immediately comes to my mind when I'm sitting there trying to report crime to the FBI, and this, operator bitch who, again, is bounded by the same culture, shit culture that I describe every day. She's like, how would that help everybody? Again, about fundamental science, it's just like, again, you guys have small inklings of historical evidence, and it's like the biggest pieces of history, and you have never seen mathematical completion. And it just solves everything. Everything that could be solved, actually. Industry still has to progress. There still can be accidents, and that shit never changes. But all of the fixable problems are fixable and they're immediate. And the fastest way to do that is education. It's always education. It's always the answer. And people, can't fucking get that. Throw everybody in jail, man. I will never live a day of my life, and it's still just this resistance. I can just sense this resistance. It's just stupidity. Incompetence, arrogance, and it's so demonstrably the society just plays games and competes over nothing. It is filthy, wretched shit, man. But that is what I have for now. My rights continue to be violated. I continue to beg for a little bit of money to eat properly, to sleep properly, and to work. Sitting here as I have aging parents who do not understand my life quality is the most heinous, historical, egregious, and disgusting fucking shit that could ever occur, and I want history to prosecute it and to punish it as severely as possible. That is legally and lawfully, always. Again, that's what I'm saying is that at no point, I am a world leader. I am the world leader. You guys are criminals. I am just articulating law and policy. And then people would say, is Brad being threatening? Fuck no. Learn to grow up, learn to sit down, shut the fuck up, and listen when somebody who knows how to speak speaks. That is what I have for today. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.